The late afternoon sun cast a golden glow over the bustling city streets, illuminating the snowflakes that gently fell from the sky. Inside a cozy cafe on the corner of the busy boulevard, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and baked goods filled the air. Archer, a young and wealthy businessman, sat alone by the large window, his eyes occasionally glancing at the pedestrians outside. Archer, despite his success, always felt a certain unease in social situations. His confident exterior often masked a lack of self-assurance that he couldn't quite shake off. Today was no different as he stirred his coffee absent-mindedly, lost in thoughts about his latest business venture. The cafe door chimed, drawing Archer's attention. In walked a woman who seemed to capture the very essence of winter beauty. She was tall and slender, with wavy chestnut hair that spilled over her black fur coat. Her eyes, a striking shade of green, scanned the room before she found a seat by the counter. Archer couldn't help but watch her. There was something about her presence that drew him in, something commanding yet graceful. As he observed, a group of rowdy young men entered the cafe, their laughter loud and intrusive. They quickly noticed the woman and began to make unwelcome advances. "Hey there, beautiful," one of them sneered, leaning closer to her. "Why don't you join us for a drink?" The woman, clearly uncomfortable, politely declined. "No, thank you. I prefer to sit alone." Archer felt a surge of protectiveness and irritation rise within him. He stood up, intending to intervene, but before he could take a step, the woman acted. With a swift and precise movement, she grabbed the wrist of the man closest to her and twisted it, causing him to yelp in pain and back away. "Leave me alone," she said firmly, her eyes cold and unyielding. The men hesitated, clearly not expecting such resistance. The leader of the group, nursing his injured wrist, spat angrily. "You'll regret this." Archer, now at her side, added with a calm but stern voice, "You heard the lady. It's time for you to leave." The combination of the woman's fierce demeanor and Archer's authoritative presence seemed to do the trick. The men grumbled but eventually left the cafe, casting resentful glances over their shoulders. "Thank you," Archer said, turning to the woman. "That was impressive." She gave him a brief smile, her eyes softening slightly. "Thank you for stepping in. I'm Elowen, by the way." "Archer?" he replied, extending his hand. They shook hands, and for a moment he felt a strange connection, as if their paths were meant to cross. They chatted briefly, but Elowen soon excused herself, citing other commitments. Archer watched her leave, feeling a mix of admiration and curiosity. He couldn't get her out of his mind as he went about his day. Later that evening, Archer decided to visit the gym, hoping a workout might help clear his thoughts. To his surprise, he found Elowen there, practicing martial arts in one of the training rooms. She moved with a fluid grace, her skills evident in every precise strike and kick. He approached cautiously, not wanting to startle her. "Elowen," he called out, softly. She turned, recognizing him instantly. "Archer, what a coincidence." "I didn't know you were into martial arts," he said, genuinely impressed. "It's a hobby of mine," she replied, wiping the sweat from her brow. "It helps me stay fit and prepared." "Prepared for what?" he asked, curious. "For situations like earlier today," she said with a wry smile. Archer chuckled. "I see. Well, you certainly handled yourself well." There was a moment of silence, and then he added, "Would you like to grab a coffee sometime? Maybe under less dramatic circumstances?" Elowen considered for a moment before nodding. "I'd like that." Over the next few weeks, Archer and Elowen met frequently. Their conversations ranged from mundane topics to deep, personal stories. Despite the differences in their backgrounds, they found common ground. One evening, after a particularly grueling workout, they sat on a bench outside the gym, the cold air making their breaths visible. "You know, I never imagined I'd meet someone like you," Archer admitted. "You're so different from anyone I've ever known." Elowen looked at him, her expression thoughtful. "I could say the same about you. You're not like most businessmen I've met. There's a depth to you." He smiled, feeling a warmth spread through him despite the cold. "I guess we're both full of surprises." Their relationship continued to blossom, each day bringing them closer together. The months following their first encounter saw Archer and Elowen's relationship blossoming. Their meetings became more frequent, evolving from casual coffee dates to intimate dinners and shared evenings at the gym. Despite the growing affection between them, the differences in their backgrounds began to surface, casting shadows over their otherwise idyllic romance. One evening, after a long day at work, Archer arrived at Elowen's apartment for dinner. The delicious aroma of home-cooked food greeted him as he entered. "Hi, love," Elowen called from the kitchen. "Dinner's almost ready." Archer smiled, feeling the tension of the day melt away. "It smells amazing. What are we having?" "Your favorite, beef stroganoff," she replied with a grin. They sat down to eat, the cozy apartment filled with warmth and the soft glow of candlelight. As they ate, Elowen noticed the tiredness in Archer's eyes. "You've been working so hard lately," she said softly. "Is everything okay?" Archer sighed, setting down his fork. "It's just been a lot lately. The business is expanding and there are so many decisions to make." Elowen reached out, touching his hand gently. "I wish there was something I could do to help." "You being here is enough," he said, squeezing her hand. "But sometimes it feels like I'm being pulled in 1,000 directions." As much as Archer tried to reassure her, Elowen couldn't shake the feeling that his world was slowly consuming him. The lavish parties, the expensive gifts, the constant pressure to maintain an image. It was all so foreign to her. One evening, they attended a high-profile charity event together. Elowen wore a stunning black gown, a gift from Archer, and he looked dashing in his tailored suit. Yet, despite the elegance and glamour, Elowen felt a sense of unease. Throughout the evening, she found herself surrounded by people who spoke a different language, the language of wealth and power. Conversations about investments, luxury vacations, and designer brands left her feeling alienated. At one point, she excused herself to get some fresh air. Archer found her a few minutes later, standing on the balcony, staring out at the city lights. "Hey, everything okay?" he asked, wrapping an arm around her waist. Elowen sighed, leaning into him. "I'm trying, Archer. But sometimes I feel like I don't belong in this world." Archer turned her to face him, his expression serious. "Elowen, you belong with me. I don't care about the rest of it." She nodded, appreciating his words, but the doubt lingered. The evening ended with them returning to her apartment in silence, both lost in their thoughts. Their differences became more apparent with each passing day. While Archer grew more confident and assured, Elowen struggled to find her footing in his world. The pressures of fitting into a life of luxury weighed heavily on her, and it began to strain their relationship. One afternoon, they decided to have a heart-to-heart conversation. They sat on the couch in Archer's opulent living room, the silence between them heavy. "Elowen, we need to talk," Archer began, his tone gentle but firm. "I can see that this is affecting you, and it's affecting us." Elowen nodded, her eyes downcast. "I know. It's just, I don't know how to fit into this world, Archer. I feel like an outsider." Archer took her hands in his eyes filled with concern. "What can I do to make it easier for you?" She shook her head, tears brimming in her eyes. "I don't know. I just don't want to lose myself, trying to fit in." Archer pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly. "You don't have to change for anyone, Elowen. I love you for who you are." Their embrace lingered, the unspoken promise of understanding and support hanging in the air. They both knew that navigating their differences would take time and patience, but their love for each other gave them the strength to try. As the months passed, they continued to face challenges. There were arguments and misunderstandings, moments of doubt and frustration. Yet, through it all, they held on to the love that had brought them together in the first place. One evening, after another long day at work, Archer found Elowen waiting for him with a determined look on her face. "We need to talk," she said, her voice steady. Archer nodded, sensing the seriousness of the moment. "Okay, what's on your mind?" Elowen took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts. "I've been thinking a lot about us, about our future, and I've realized that we need to find a balance, a way to make this work for both of us." Archer listened intently, his heart swelling with admiration for her strength and resolve. "I want to be part of your world, Archer," she continued, "but I also need to stay true to who I am. We need to find a middle ground where we can both be happy." Archer smiled, feeling a renewed sense of hope. "I want that too, Elowen, more than anything." They spent the evening discussing their future, laying out their hopes and fears and finding ways to support each other. It wasn't easy, but it was a start. In the weeks that followed, they made a conscious effort to bridge the gap between their worlds. Archer introduced Elowen to the aspects of his life that he cherished, while Elowen shared her passions and dreams with him. They learned to appreciate each other's differences and found strength in their shared love. Their relationship grew stronger, built on a foundation of understanding and compromise. The initial months of their relationship had been a beautiful journey for Archer and Elowen. They had faced their fair share of challenges, but emerged stronger, more in love than ever. However, life had more trials in store for them. One chilly evening, as the first hints of snow began to dust the city streets, Archer arrived home looking more worn out than usual. Elowen greeted him at the door with a warm smile and a hug, but she could sense something was amiss. "Hey, you look exhausted," Elowen said, concern evident in her voice. "Is everything okay?" Archer sighed, rubbing his temples. "There's been some trouble at work. Several of our vending machines have been sabotaged, and it's causing a significant loss. I'm worried about how this will impact the business." Elowen frowned, her protective instincts kicking in. "What can I do to help?" Archer shook his head, a small smile playing on his lips despite his exhaustion. "Just being here helps, but we need to figure out who's behind this and why." Over the next few days, Elowen threw herself into helping Archer. They spent countless hours brainstorming, reviewing security footage, and coordinating with the team. Despite the stress, their bond only grew stronger as they faced the crisis together. However, beneath the surface, Elowen's worry deepened. She could see the toll it was taking on Archer, and her heart ached to ease his burden. One afternoon, as Elowen was working on some reports in Archer's office, the door opened and in walked a strikingly beautiful woman. She had an air of confidence and familiarity that immediately put Elowen on edge. "Hello, I'm Felicity," the woman introduced herself, extending a perfectly manicured hand. "An old friend of Archer's." Elowen shook her hand, forcing a polite smile. "I'm Elowen, Archer's fiancée." "Ah, fiancée," Felicity repeated, her smile never reaching her eyes. How lovely." Archer entered the office just then, his expression changing from surprise to mild discomfort. "Felicity, what brings you here?" "I heard about your troubles and thought I might be able to help," Felicity said smoothly. "I have some contacts who could assist with your vending machine issues." Elowen watched the interaction closely, noting the tension in Archer's posture. "Thank you, Felicity," he said, keeping his tone neutral. "I appreciate the offer." Days turned into weeks, and Felicity's presence became a regular occurrence. She attended meetings, offered business advice, and seemed genuinely interested in helping Archer's company recover. However, her behavior towards Elowen was less than friendly. At social events, she would cling to Archer's arm, making subtle comments that undermined Elowen's confidence. "You two make such a perfect couple," an acquaintance remarked at one such event. Felicity, instead of deflecting, simply smiled and nodded, ignoring Elowen's presence entirely. This remark lingered in Elowen's mind, causing her to question the nature of Felicity's intentions. Every time Felicity brushed against Archer or whispered something in his ear, Elowen felt a pang of jealousy and insecurity. She began to doubt herself, wondering if she was truly the right person for Archer. The final straw came one afternoon when Elowen decided to surprise Archer with lunch at his office. As she walked in, she saw Felicity rifling through Archer's papers. "What are you doing?" Elowen demanded, her voice sharper than she intended. Felicity looked up, unfazed. "Just organizing some documents for Archer. I'm waiting for him to finish a meeting." "Let me call him to let him know you're here," Elowen offered, suspicion flaring. "No need," Felicity replied quickly, closing the drawer. "I'll come back later." When Elowen told Archer about the encounter, he looked troubled. "She wasn't supposed to be there today," he said, frowning. "And my secretary didn't mention anything about her visit." Determined to get to the bottom of it, Archer reviewed the hidden camera footage from his office. What he found was shocking. Felicity and his secretary had been colluding, passing company information to a rival business. "Archer, we need to deal with this immediately," Elowen said, her voice steady despite the anger simmering beneath. Archer hired a private investigator to dig deeper. The findings were damning. Felicity and the secretary had received substantial payments from a competitor who had been orchestrating the sabotage of Archer's vending machines. Armed with evidence, Archer confronted Felicity. She didn't deny it, her demeanor icy and unrepentant. "I knew it was you," Archer said, his voice low and controlled. "Why, Felicity? Why would you do this?" "Because you broke off our engagement for her," Felicity spat, her gaze flicking to Elowen. "I wanted to show you how useless she is, how she doesn't deserve you." Archer shook his head, his anger barely contained. "Our engagement was a business arrangement, Felicity. There was never any real affection between us. And Elowen is everything to me. She's the only one I want by my side." Felicity's eyes flashed with bitterness. "You're making a mistake." "No, the mistake was ever trusting you," Archer replied. "You and my secretary are fired, and I will make sure you face the consequences for what you've done." With Felicity and the secretary gone, Archer and Elowen worked tirelessly to repair the damage done to the company. Their efforts paid off, and slowly but surely the business began to recover and thrive. One evening, as they sat together reviewing the latest financial reports, Elowen leaned her head on Archer's shoulder. "We did it," she said softly. Archer kissed her forehead. "Yes, we did. Together." Their love and partnership had been tested, but they had come through stronger, more united than ever. With Felicity's deceit exposed and dealt with, they could finally move forward, building a future based on trust, respect, and unwavering support for one another. The turmoil caused by Felicity's betrayal had subsided, leaving Archer and Elowen to rebuild their lives and their trust in each other. Their relationship, though tested, had emerged stronger, and they felt ready to face the world together. However, as life would have it, another challenge lay ahead, one that would test Elowen's bravery and Archer's love in ways they hadn't anticipated. It was a crisp autumn evening, the air cool and refreshing. Archer and Elowen decided to take a stroll in the park near their home. The leaves crunched under their feet, and the golden hues of the setting sun cast a warm glow over the landscape. "I'm glad we're finally able to take some time to relax," Archer said, squeezing Elowen's hand. "It feels like we haven't had a moment to ourselves in ages." Elowen smiled up at him, her heart swelling with love. "Me too. I've missed this." They walked in comfortable silence for a while, enjoying each other's presence. As they rounded a bend in the path, they heard a commotion ahead. A group of people had gathered, their voices raised in panic. "What's going on?" Elowen asked, her eyes narrowing with concern. Archer frowned, his protective instincts kicking in. "Let's go see." They hurried towards the crowd and saw a young woman being harassed by a man. The woman's cries for help were drowned out by the man's aggressive shouting. Without hesitation, Elowen stepped forward. "Hey, leave her alone!" she demanded, her voice strong and unwavering. The man turned to face her, his expression twisted with anger. "Stay out of this, lady. It's none of your business." Elowen's training in self-defense kicked in, and she positioned herself between the man and the frightened woman. "I'm making it my business. Back off now." Archer's heart pounded as he watched Elowen confront the aggressor. He felt a surge of pride and fear simultaneously. He wanted to step in, but he knew Elowen could handle herself. The man sneered, stepping closer. "You think you can take me on?" Before he could react, Elowen moved with lightning speed. She delivered a swift kick to his knee, causing him to stumble. In the next instant, she twisted his arm behind his back, immobilizing him. "Call the police," Elowen instructed the bystanders, her voice calm and authoritative. As the crowd sprang into action, Archer rushed to Elowen's side, his heart swelling with admiration. "Are you okay?" Elowen nodded, her eyes still focused on the man she was restraining. "I'm fine. Just making sure he doesn't try anything." The police arrived shortly after, taking the man into custody. The young woman thanked Elowen profusely, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you so much," she said, her voice shaking. "I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't stepped in." Elowen offered a reassuring smile. "I'm just glad you're safe." As the crowd dispersed, Archer pulled Elowen into a tight embrace. "You were incredible," he whispered, his voice filled with emotion. Elowen leaned into him, her body finally relaxing. "I just did what needed to be done." Back at home, the reality of the evening's events began to sink in. Archer couldn't shake the image of Elowen standing fearlessly against the aggressor. "I'm so proud of you," he said as they settled on the couch. "You were amazing out there." Elowen blushed, a rare show of vulnerability. "I was scared, but I couldn't just stand by and do nothing." Archer cupped her face in his hands, looking deep into her eyes. "Your courage is one of the many reasons I love you. You're incredible, Elowen." Their kiss was slow and tender, a reaffirmation of their love and mutual respect. They had faced so much together, and each challenge only strengthened their bond. The next few days were a whirlwind of media attention. News of Elowen's bravery spread quickly, and she became a local hero. While she appreciated the recognition, she was more concerned with returning to their normal life. One evening, as they were preparing dinner, Archer noticed a shadow cross Eloin's face. "Is everything okay?" he asked, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. Eloin sighed, stirring the pot absent-mindedly. "It's just all this attention. I didn't do it for the recognition. I did it because it was the right thing to do." Archer kissed her forehead. "I know, and that's what makes you so special. You're not just brave, you're selfless." As they sat down to eat, the doorbell rang. Archer frowned, not expecting any visitors. He opened the door to find an elderly couple standing there, their faces etched with gratitude. "Can we help you?" Archer asked, puzzled. The woman stepped forward, her eyes welling with tears. "You're Eloin, aren't you?" Eloin stood, confused. "Yes, I am." "We're the parents of the young woman you saved," the man explained. "We wanted to thank you in person. You have no idea what you've done for our family." Eloin's eyes softened with understanding. "I'm just glad she's safe. That's all that matters." They stayed for a while, sharing stories and expressing their gratitude. When they left, Eloin felt a deep sense of fulfillment. "You see," Archer said, wrapping an arm around her waist, "you've made a real difference in someone's life." As the days passed, life slowly returned to normal. Archer's business continued to thrive, and Eloin's career flourished. Yet the memory of that night in the park remained a poignant reminder of Eloin's strength and bravery. One evening, as they sat by the fireplace, Archer took Eloin's hand. "You know, I've always admired your courage, but seeing you in action, it made me realize just how incredible you are." Eloin smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. "I was just doing what anyone would do." "No," Archer said, shaking his head. "Not everyone would have had the courage to step in like you did. You're special, Eloin." They sat in comfortable silence, the crackling of the fire and the warmth of their love enveloping them. They had faced danger and deceit, but through it all, they had each other. As the fire burned low, Archer spoke again, his voice filled with emotion. "I don't know what I would do without you. You've brought so much light and strength into my life." Eloin looked up at him, her eyes shining with love. "And you've given me a reason to be brave." "I love you, Archer." Their kiss was a promise, a testament to their unwavering love and commitment. The months that followed Felicity's betrayal had been challenging for Archer and Eloin, but their determination to rebuild both the business and their relationship was unwavering. After the storm of betrayal and deceit had passed, Archer's company not only recovered, but flourished like never before. With Eloin by his side offering unwavering support and love, he steered the business to new heights. They had faced many challenges, but their bond had only grown stronger. It was a bright summer day when Archer decided to take Eloin on a surprise trip to the coast. The beach, with its golden sands and rolling waves, held a special place in their hearts. It was where they had spent many carefree afternoons, talking about their dreams and future. As they strolled along the shoreline, the salty breeze playing with Eloin's hair, she looked at Archer with a curious smile. "You've been acting a bit secretive lately. What's going on?" Archer chuckled, taking her hand in his. "You'll see soon enough. Just trust me." They walked in comfortable silence, their feet sinking into the warm sand. The sun was beginning to set, casting a breathtaking array of colors across the sky. Archer led Eloin to a secluded spot where a picnic blanket was laid out, surrounded by lanterns that flickered softly in the evening light. "Archer, this is beautiful," Eloin said, her eyes wide with wonder. "You did all this?" He nodded, feeling his heart pound in his chest. "There's something I need to ask you, Elowen." She turned to face him, her expression shifting from surprise to anticipation. "What is it?" Archer took a deep breath, reaching into his pocket to pull out a small velvet box. He dropped to one knee, his eyes locking onto hers. "Elowen, you've been my rock, my inspiration, and my love. You've stood by me through the hardest times and made the good times even better. I can't imagine my life without you. Will you marry me?" Tears welled up in Elowen's eyes as she looked down at the ring sparkling in the dim light. Her heart swelled with love and joy, and she nodded, her voice choked with emotion. "Yes, Archer. Yes, I will marry you." Archer slipped the ring onto her finger and stood, pulling her into a passionate kiss. The world seemed to melt away, leaving only the two of them and their overwhelming happiness. When they finally pulled apart, they were both laughing and crying at the same time. "I love you so much," Elowen whispered, resting her forehead against his. "And I love you more than words can ever say," Archer replied, his voice filled with emotion. Their engagement marked the beginning of an exciting new chapter. Plans for the wedding began almost immediately, and it wasn't long before the big day arrived. The wedding was to be a grand affair, reflecting the depth of their love and the journey they had shared. On a clear spring day, the wedding was held at an opulent estate, its sprawling gardens bursting with flowers. Guests arrived in elegant attire, their faces glowing with anticipation and joy. Elowen stood in a beautifully decorated room, gazing at her reflection in the mirror. Her wedding dress was a masterpiece of lace and silk, fitting her perfectly. She felt a mix of excitement and nervousness, her heart racing at the thought of marrying the man she loved. Her maid of honor, Maria, adjusted her veil and smiled. "You look stunning, Elowen. Archer is a lucky man." Elowen smiled back, her eyes sparkling. "I'm the lucky one. He's everything I ever dreamed of." A knock on the door interrupted their moment, and Elowen's father stepped in, looking proud and emotional. "It's time, sweetheart." As Elowen took her father's arm and walked towards the garden, she felt a sense of calm wash over her. The music began to play, and the guests rose to their feet, their eyes fixed on the bride. Archer stood at the altar, his heart pounding as he watched Elowen approach. She looked like a vision, and he couldn't believe how lucky he was to be marrying her. When she reached him, they exchanged a smile that spoke volumes about their love and commitment. The ceremony was beautiful, filled with heartfelt vows and promises of eternal love. As they exchanged rings, Archer's hands trembled slightly, overcome with emotion. "With this ring, I promise to love you, cherish you, and stand by you through all of life's challenges," Archer said, his voice steady despite the tears in his eyes. Elowen's voice was soft but strong as she replied, "With this ring, I promise to be your partner, your support, and your greatest love. I will stand by you always." When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, the guests erupted in applause. Archer and Elowen shared their first kiss as a married couple, their hearts soaring with happiness. The reception that followed was a celebration of love and unity. The grand ballroom was adorned with flowers and twinkling lights, creating a magical atmosphere. Guests enjoyed a sumptuous feast, and the sound of laughter and music filled the air. As they danced their first dance, Archer whispered in Elowen's ear, "I feel like the luckiest man in the world." Elowen smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. "And I feel like the luckiest woman. I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with you." The night was filled with joyous moments. Speeches from loved ones brought tears and laughter, and the dance floor was alive with energy. Archer and Elowen moved through the crowd, sharing their happiness with family and friends. At one point, Archer's best friend Dimitri raised a toast. To Archer and Elowen, a couple who have shown us all what true love looks like. May your lives be filled with happiness, prosperity, and endless love. The guests echoed the sentiment, lifting their glasses in a cheer. Archer and Elowen looked around at the smiling faces, feeling a deep sense of gratitude for the love and support surrounding them. Later in the evening, as the celebration continued, Archer and Elowen stole a quiet moment together on a balcony overlooking the gardens. The night air was cool and refreshing, and the stars twinkled above them. "Can you believe we're finally married?" Elowen asked, her voice filled with wonder. Archer took her hand, his thumb brushing over her wedding ring. "It feels like a dream come true. I've waited for this moment for so long." Elowen leaned into him, her heart full. "Me too, and it's even more beautiful than I imagined." They stood in comfortable silence, soaking in the magic of the night. The sound of the celebration drifted up from below, a reminder of the love and joy that surrounded them. As the evening drew to a close, Archer and Elowen returned to the ballroom to say their farewells. They thanked their guests for sharing in their special day and promised to cherish the memories forever. When the last guest had left and the lights began to dim, Archer and Elowen made their way to their honeymoon suite. They entered the room, filled with flowers and candles, and felt a sense of peace settle over them. Archer pulled Elowen into his arms, his eyes reflecting the depth of his love. "Thank you for making this the most incredible day of my life." Elowen smiled, her eyes shining with tears. "Thank you for loving me the way you do. I can't wait to start this new chapter with you." They shared a tender kiss, their hearts beating in perfect harmony. The challenges they had faced had only strengthened their bond, and they knew that whatever the future held, they would face it together. As they lay in each other's arms, the events of the day replayed in their minds. The joy, the laughter, the promises made. It was a day they would cherish forever, a testament to their love and commitment. In the days and weeks that followed, Archer and Elowen settled into their new life as husband and wife. They continued to build their dreams, supporting each other in every endeavor. Their love was a beacon of hope, a reminder that true love could conquer all. As they looked to the future, they knew that their journey was just beginning. With love, trust, and mutual respect, they were ready to face any challenge and celebrate every triumph. Together, they were unstoppable, and their love story was just getting started. Archer and Elowen's journey has been an incredibly rewarding experience, filled with deep emotional exploration and the triumph of love over adversity. Their story is a testament to the strength of human connection and the resilience of the human spirit. Don't forget to follow me for more captivating love stories that will inspire and move you. Your engagement and feedback mean the world to me.